Home Minister Amit Shah has congratulated PM Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump on strengthening the strategic partnership between India and the US following the announcement of the India-US trade deal. In a post on X, Amit Shah said the agreement marks a big day for India-US relations, with tariffs on made-in-India goods reduced by 18%. He said the deal paves the way for stronger trade ties, mutual growth and greater business engagement between the two countries, adding that it will significantly benefit both nations and their people. I want to now go across to Ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta. Ambassador Gupta, now the fact that President Trump has claimed that India will buy over $500 billion worth of US energy, technology, agriculture and coal, is this economically feasible and over what time frame?
Yes, of course, it is feasible. It is not possible in one single year because our energy imports are very heavy. As you know, we are importing almost 85% of our energy requirements. Most of it is coming from the Middle East, from Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Qatar. It can come from US if the prices are competitive. Now Russia is already becoming less competitive because there are restriction on two big Russian companies from the US. So our oil companies are not able to import from them, and therefore the imports from Russia have declined. Venezuela is not yet ready in the sense their production is very limited. But yes, Venezuelan crude can also be processed in India. That heavy crude, we have the facility to process that crude. And US crude was already increasing in quantity in the last few months. And I think the crude quantity from US can increase up to say 50, 60 billion a year. And over a period of time, in about 5, 6 years, we can import $500 billion worth of crude and other energy products from US. It's quite possible, but not in one year. Of course, it will be spread over at least 4 to 5 years. That is my assessment. But in addition to that, India's imports will also increase if the relationship becomes stronger. All these irritants are over. Then the defense field opens new horizons for our two countries. We have a lot of ongoing collaborations, and the G engine for our fighter aircraft is also due. Some helicopters are also due. We are also talking about fifth generation fighter aircraft. F-35 is under discussion. So all these issues can be resolved if the relationship moves smoothly in the right direction. And I think this is a very correct move. Unfortunately, there would be some apprehensions in India because US has in the middle imposed a unnecessary tariff on a friendly country like India. India was the only country on which additional tariff for import of Russian oil was imposed. It was not imposed on China. It was not imposed on European Union. It was not imposed on Turkey. India was the only victim. So I think US has realized that they have done a mistake, and obviously the correction will help now, and everybody in the government has welcomed this decision, and let us welcome this wholeheartedly. And I feel that it is time to leave the irritants behind and take positive steps for the future growth of our two countries. If we prosper, I think the problem is that China is a country which has what we call almost a dictatorial authoritarian system. Now that country is not, in the global interest for everybody. And the reason being that the Communist Party of China dominates everything there. And that danger was looming large with deteriorating relations between India and US. Now that can be repaired because the China is already having some internal issues as well these days, as you must have seen in the press that some of the top generals have been, sidelined, and one of them perhaps has committed suicide. We don't know how far these are true, but the fact is that the dominance of a authoritarian regime is not good. We should promote democratic regimes, and this is the beginning that India and US can promote democracy and prosperity around the world. This is the union of 1.4 billion Indians and 400 million Americans. They come together. It makes a big market, and I think we should welcome this.
All right, Ambassador Gupta, please stay on with me. Now, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has welcomed the India-US trade deal, under which the US has reduced tariffs on India to 18%, calling it a landmark moment that will take bilateral economic ties between the two countries to new heights. In a post on X, the Defense Minister described the agreement as a historic milestone in India-US relations that opens a new chapter of deeper and stronger economic cooperation. He congratulated PM Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump on reaching what he called a decisive agreement that will strengthen the strategic partnership and deliver tangible benefits to both countries and their people. The remarks come after US President Donald Trump announced that the US and India have agreed to a trade deal with reciprocal tariffs reduced from 25% to 18%, effective immediately. Trump said the decision was taken out of friendship and respect for Prime Minister Modi. I have Mithali Nikore, who's an economist, who's joining me. Now, Mithali, what interests me and what I want your opinion on, because you're an economist, is that, now the challenge here perhaps is the price, because Russian oil has remained cheaper due to the discounts that have been forced by sanctions. And switching to US oil might mean that India will have to pay world prices with higher freight costs and without the discounts that have been negotiated. Now, this is expected to increase India's oil import by 5 to 10% per barrel, which translates to billions of dollars. What would you like to say on that? Mithali, am I audible to you?
And
Mithali, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, if you could repeat your question.
Yes, Mithali, absolutely. Mithali, I want your opinion on this as an economist. Now, the challenge here is the price, really, because Russian oil has remained cheaper due to the discounts that have been forced by sanctions, and switching to US oil means that India will have to pay world prices with higher freight costs and without the discounts that have been negotiated. Now, this is expected to increase India's oil import bill by 5 to 10% per barrel, which translates to billions of dollars. What would you like to say on that?
No, so I think when we, when we think about this, sorry, I can't, I'm having some connectivity issues. Please let me log back in.
Sure. All right, we'll try and reconnect with Mithali. But let me just also apprise our viewers of this other breaking news that we have, which is that Union Minister for Railways and Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, has welcomed the India-US trade deal, under which Washington has reduced tariffs in India to 18%, calling it a win-win agreement for citizens and industries in both countries. In a post on X, Vaishnav said India and the US, as the world's largest democracies, are natural allies with complementary strengths. He said the trade deal will deepen cooperation, enable co-creation of technologies, and support joint solutions for peace and development, adding that the agreement will lead to a brighter future for both nations. His remarks come after US President Donald Trump announced that the US and India have agreed to a trade deal, reducing reciprocal tariffs from 25% to 18% with immediate effect, citing friendship and respect for PM Narendra Modi. In a post on Truth Social, Trump referred to his conversation with Prime Minister Modi, describing him as one of his closest friends and a powerful and respected leader. He claimed that India had agreed to stop buying Russian oil significantly, and which will increase purchases from the US and reduce tariffs and non-tariff barriers on American goods. Prime Minister Narendra Modi later said it was wonderful to speak with his dear friend President Trump and expressed delight that made in India products will now face a reduced tariff of 18%. He thanked President Trump for the announcement on behalf of the people of India. And I do have now with me Mr. Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, and he's joining me live from Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Mr. Vickery, I wanted to talk to you about the Russian oil prices, really. The fact that they've been cheaper previously due to the discounts that have been forced by sanctions. How do you see this now?
Well, thanks very much for allowing me to comment on this because the Russian invasion of Ukraine is the worst transgression of the UN Charter and principles of non-interference, anti-imperialism that's occurred since World War II. And it is absolutely key that India has great influence with Russia, have a long-standing historic relationship, as well as defense and economic ties. So India, as a great democracy and a progenitor of peace around the world, has a great role to play in building peace around the world, whether it be in Europe or Asia or elsewhere. And I believe that this agreement will provide a greater role for India in being able to secure that peace and let President Putin know that invasion of a neighbor is not the way in which to assure Russian greatness or even Russian security. Now, that having been said, the business of oil purchases, I think that the United States has operated in a very unfair way in regard to India. In order to wage peace, like you wage war, you've got to have strategy, you got to have partners, and you have to have principles. So you can't be saying to India at one time, yes, buy all the oil you want so long as it's under a price cap, and then turn around and say, well, any purchases you make are bad, but not say anything about what China is doing, which is China, of course, is the number one purchaser of Russian oil, and not say anything about what Europe is doing in terms of cutting back on natural gas and other petroleum products. So while the instinct is right to try to work with India to rein in Russia, and Russia should be reined in by India and the other great democracies, the way in which the United States administration has gone about it has been really pretty counterproductive. Now, having said that, I believe that from analyses that Tom Cutler and I have done and which appeared in publications here, that the real issue really for India in regard to the oil is not really so much the price advantage which it gets. That has been held up, but the price advantage, even if it's in the $5 to $12 billion range, pales in comparison with the size of the Indian economy, which is some 5 trillion or so. It pales in comparison with overall trade amounts. The real question is how much of a price differential can you get, and whether or not you're working to bring peace to not only the immediate neighborhood in which India is located, but worldwide, including Europe. So I think that the United States and India, the U.S., after all, is the world's greatest exporter of oil now. Horizontal drilling has enabled it to have petroleum products far beyond that which obtained even a decade or so ago. So this price matter can be worked out so that India really is not significantly disadvantaged. And as you know, the prices of gasoline, petrol in India really haven't dropped significantly since 2022. It has been an advantage to be able to deal with Russia, but nothing like an existential matter for India. In the past, it's been more a matter of strategic autonomy, which is obviously a very strong domestic issue as well as international. I believe that India can retain its strategic autonomy and at the same time work with the United States to be able to rein in Russia and to turn them from the path of neo-imperialism, if you will, which is what they have been doing in regard to Ukraine, and which they say they might do in regard to Moldova, Georgia, and other areas. Because peace, world peace, is indivisible. You're not going to have war in one place. So I don't think that the rollback, if you will, of purchases by India from Russia will hurt that much. And I do think that those price differentials can be worked out so that these two great democracies can work again on bringing peace to the world wherever there is a breach of the principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter.
All right, Mr. Vikri, I'll come back to you. Now, of course, all right, Mithali Nikore is back with me. Now, Mithali, I want to ask you, how might this deal impact India-Russia relations, especially in defense and energy cooperation?
Thank you, Vaishali. Sorry for the audio issues. So I think, this is a very critical sticking point for this deal, because you see condition number one, which has been specified by President Trump. Again, it's not clear if it is by the US government or if it is, agreed by the Indian government, and we have to see the official communication to confirm that. But by President Trump, condition number one, India brings down oil purchases from Russia to zero. Now, India is playing a very interesting role in the global economy today, where India, in fact, was urged by the United States under the Biden administration to purchase Russian oil, process it, and then sell this to the European allies and to European and to other markets. So very honestly, India has never actually gone against any of the rules-based trading order that was set, and India has always followed a lot of these cooperative measures and to keep oil markets balanced across the world. Plus, Russia is India's long-standing ally. If you see this entire period of 2025, when US-India relations were going up and down, Russia has been a steadfast ally throughout. Russia has always been, one of those long friends that India has had. So, very honestly, this does put a little bit of a spanner in the relationship between India and Russia, because I do not think, and this is my opinion, that India can bring down oil purchases from Russia to zero. So then what happens to the deal in that event is something that we have to see. And very honestly, it is of course not appropriate for any country to tell a second country or a third country that you can purchase X from, this person, but you cannot purchase Y from this person. They can definitely say that India should invest more in the US, that India should have more Venezuelan oil purchases from US companies, that India should have more defense purchases from the US. They are very right in saying that. But to say that India should not do certain things, that really goes against a rules-based trading system.
All right, Mithali. And with that, I'd like to thank all my guests for joining me on the broadcast, and we're slipping into a short commercial break.